All right, what's going on? It's Bobby Skinner talking Giants, and a lot of stuff has happened. I'm going to react to the 53-man roster breakdown. Wandale Robinson activated from PUP, and he's part of that. But we'll start with Boogie Basham, the Giants trading for the former second-round pick. But we'll start before that. Like and subscribe to the channel. I've got a Basham film breakdown out already. We're going to have a full podcast when they do waiver claims, everything. And if they get new players, we'll do film breakdowns on those guys. But anyways, the Giants traded for Boogie Basham. They traded what is reported as 2025 late round draft picks for a guy who Joe Shane was a part of drafting in the second round in 2021 out of Wake Forest as an edge defender. Don't know the exact details. Hopefully it's a swap of a seventh and a sixth. You know, like we saw the Giants do that to get Ben Bredesen, or Ben Bredesen was a sixth and a fifth. But hopefully it's a seventh and a sixth, because if it's like a seventh and a fifth, I don't think Boogie Basham's a good enough player to really justify that. But he does have potential. So let's get into him. Boogie Basham, again, former second round pick out of Wake Forest. This guy, people really liked him. Obviously the Bills and Joe Shane did too. Big, strong defender at 6'3", 280 pounds, and I do think he has real potential to be a really good run defender. That being said, he really doesn't add much as a pass rusher at all. I mean, he's had 4.5 sacks over 2 seasons for the Bills, and go watch them. They're exclusively coverage sacks, and I hate the term coverage sacks because people overuse it, but they are exclusively coverage sacks. So, but he can like kind of transfer, like he works some hand moves that just aren't fluid and don't hit, but he can push. Like he can be a pocket pusher, and I think if he realizes that, and even like as a run defender, that is what take him to the next level as a player. And because in the run game, like you see some really, really good reps. I think he's a little inconsistent setting the edge, but you see the power in there. Like he's a big, strong dude. Like there's no one that's moving him around, and he does some good stuff, good pursuits plays. I think they'll try and line him up on the inside a little bit. The Bills did that here and there with him. And the Giants desperately needed edge depth, right? You have Kayvon and Aziz as starters. Jihad Ward, who's really, I think what Boogie Basham should try and mold his play after Jihad Ward, who, again, doesn't give you much as a pass rusher, even though I think Boogie has more potential as a pocket pusher than Jihad Ward is, what he is at this point. But Jihad Ward's like a vicious, aggressive, run-defending outside linebacker, and I think Boogie Basham's just trying to and play the way that Jihad Ward does and bring the energy that he does, and that's where he can be good. Because we had O'Shane Zimenez, who was cut, Timon Fox, who was cut. Fox can, he rushed with the plan. He had good plays here or there. But O'Shane Zimenez did nothing for the New York Giants. I mean, he did not rush the passer well. I mean, we saw in the preseason, third-string offensive tackles were just handling him. And as a run defender, he was a liability. As this Giants defense looks to get better as defending the run, a big part of that is setting the edge. Everyone looks at the linebackers and D-line and stuff, but the edge needs to be set, and especially when you're backing up Aziz, who's not a great run defender, and Kayvon, who should be one but isn't one quite yet. So, again, we don't know the full details on this trade, but hopefully it's a seventh and a sixth. But yeah, welcome to the Giants, Boogie Basham. Other stuff from the 53-man roster cut down. Wandale Robinson was activated off PUP list towards ACL 9 months ago. So that means that if they didn't activate him, like Aaron Robinson wasn't activated, he is on the PUP list. He can't come off of that for the first 4 games of the season. So Wandale would have not been able to play till week 5. But they have a role for him. It'll be fascinating to see what he does and how much snap share he gets, because there's essentially 4 wide receivers I think clearly ahead of him in snap share, and Darius Slayton, Isaiah Hodgins, Paris Campbell as the starting 3, and then I think Jalen Hyatt will have more snaps than him. But I think the plan probably is to take it slow, give him plays here or there, and reevaluate what you think of him long-term at the end of the season, right? Because you brought Paris Campbell in here as kind of Wandale Robinson insurance. So even if Paris Campbell's like playing really well, but if they have confidence at the end of the season that Wandale Robinson's going to be really good, and he can start doing like the stuff that Cole Beasley does on a down basis, while also being the guy who can make plays athletically that guys like Beasley can't. And then maybe you let Paris Campbell walk. But I'm not putting too much expectations on Wandale Robinson for year 2, just coming off that ACL. Like, one, coming off the ACL sucks and it's hard. Also, you don't need to push him when you have the Giants wide receiver depth that they have. The Giants also kept Sterling Shepard. He's like a backup outside wide receiver. He really has not gotten any slot reps at all. He is playing on the outside, which he's done the majority of his career since, the first few seasons. Other wide receiver stuff. Cole Beasley was cut, but because he's a vested veteran, and that's been reported, he's going to be back. He's dealing with the injury. He'll either be back on the practice squad, and then they'll elevate him, the 3 times that they're allowed to, or they'll just put him on the 53-man roster. But there's still a role for him on this team, to get third down, run little choice routes. So even though he's cut, he's still a part of the New York Giants because he's not subject to waivers because he is a vested veteran. Probably one of the 2 surprising cuts was Tyree Phillips, the offensive lineman. He was dealing with an injury and returned to practice last week, but he didn't play in the preseason at all. And when we were at training camp, Matt Parrott, who has not played very well in the preseason either, was clearly outplaying Tyree Phillips. And again, he didn't get any game action after that. But it is surprising because the Giants' offensive line depth isn't great, and Matt Parrott's your only backup offensive tackle right now. Like, that's got to be something they look at in the waiver wire, or if one of the guys were to go down, like, you kind of need to break it. Like, you got to do something because you can't just have Josh Azudu or really bad backup tackles. But even then, Phillips wasn't like the best swing tackle in the world. He gave up 3 sacks, 2 hits, and 11 pressures in 5 games. His pass blocking efficiency was barely better than Evan Neal, which was bottom of the league last year. Did better in the run game, but also not great. He's probably better suited as guard, though. But he's been forced to play tackle his whole career, and that's why I thought he'd at least have a role on this team because he's played a little bit of guard. Like, he's better suited at guard. He's just been always forced to play tackle, whether it's the Giants or the Ravens. But I also think they wanted to keep Marcus McKeithen, who finally got some preseason run last year, their 5th-round pick from a year ago. And then Shane Lemieux. Shane Lemieux made the team. He quietly had a really good preseason, and I really do feel for a guy like Shane Lemieux because he hasn't been healthy since his rookie season. He came in as the starter for year 2 in 2021, and tore the meniscus, tried to play week 1 versus the Broncos. He actually looked really good in that game and then left at halftime and was out for the season. Comes back last year, hurts the foot, misses the first whatever games, comes in for a half. The foot was not healthy, got re-injured badly, which ended the season, and he looked really bad. So I think Shane Lemieux can be a good depth player in the NFL. So I'm glad that his preseason, earned him a roster spot. Hopefully we're never using him because you have Josh Azudu as probably depth or Ben Bredesen or whoever. And then McKeithen could hopefully turn into more than that. But Shane Lemieux could also be, if they go get a tackle from waivers or something, Shane Lemieux could be the first guy cut. But he did have a good preseason. The other surprise cut was Darian Beavers, but it wasn't that surprising. He looked really bad in preseason. Like, he just looked slow. He wasn't reading things very well. He was getting sealed off. He just did not look like a good linebacker out there. And people put expectations way too high on this game. A guy off of one good preseason game last year, which, by the way, Austin Calitro and Michael McFadden played really well in that preseason game too, if not better than him. But there was just... the hype train was crazy, but he tore his ACL. He was already, a 24-year-old rookie last year. And now he's coming off the ACL, and he just didn't look good. Now, I do hope he can be on the practice squad because there is some good stuff in there for him. Like, I thought he was a great value pick as a 6th-rounder out of Cincinnati, but he just didn't look good. And then when you go get Isaiah Simmons, then he's the 4th guy. Is he adding special teams? No. And they keep Carter Coughlin and Cam Brown in year 4 for special teams, and I don't blame them. But I do hope he's 6th around on the practice squad. Other stuff, only 5 corners. Darnay Holmes did take a pay cut because his contract got escalated because of the proven performance escalators, which goes off of your snap share as your first 3 seasons as a day 3 pick. So it was a $2.9 million cap hit, but it was only $200,000 of dead cap. So they basically forced him to take a pay cut, which sucks for Darnay, but that's reality. Amani Arroyo was cut. He's just been really bad. I said that when we signed him, he might be cut. Tommy DeVito was waived. I'm pretty confident he's going to get through waivers. Tyrod Taylor has $5.5 million in dead cap, and Tyrod Taylor is a better quarterback than Tommy DeVito right now. But DeVito had a good preseason, man, and I think he should be in play for quarterback 2 in 2024. Build off this year, work against as a scout team, and just get better. Jashawn Corbin was cut, which isn't surprising, But it is surprising after he spent all last year on the practice squad, looked like the best back out there in preseason, and they kept 4 running backs. They kept Gary Brightwell again. I know he brings whatever special teams value, but I'm surprised that Corbin got cut when they kept 4 backs. If they only kept 3, I would understand it. I know there's some worry of him going to the Colts with because the Giants' former running back coach DeAndre Smith is their running back coach now, but I mean in the preseason he had 16 carries for 51 yards, 3.1 yards per carry, and that included a 35-yarder. The rest of them were 15 for 16. Now I blame that on the offensive line, but I don't know if that's enough for Deshaun Corbin to be claimed. Other news: Bryce Ford Wheaton tore his ACL. He's to the IR. Really sucks for him. Wanted him to get on the practice squad and learn the position as a pro. Chris Myrick broke his hand, IR. 3 tight ends, Lawrence Cager. I really do want to get, whether it's Tommy Sweeney, whoever, get a blocking tight end on the practice squad for elevations because Lawrence. I just don't like having 2 tight ends on the roster who just aren't good blockers. Like, that's just simple as that. Now, Darren Waller is amazing, so obviously you want Darren Waller. But Lawrence Cager, I don't think he's good enough to be as bad of a blocker hit as he is and not be like a starter. But they're going to use him in different ways, so they're going to have a use for him. So it's not. I would rather keep 4 tight ends and have one be a blocker. So it sucks that Myrick broke his hand. Sweeney's dealing with some medical stuff, so we'll see what happens. So appreciate you guys. Like and subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. We'll have a full pod. This is the one pod of the year where we really digest it because a lot's going to change over the next 2 days. But this is initially what happened, so we appreciate you guys. Let's go big.